This SuperNanny episode has the worst behaved child the show's ever seen.
He will kick, he will punch, he will scream.
He's the child from hell.
Hello you gorgeous donuts. SuperNanny is a British TV show in which this woman goes to houses where they're struggling to look after their children and she attempts to fix them. I say fix them, what does that even mean? Like, these parents are so desperate, they've got the help of a camera crew and a random woman for a couple of weeks. That's how much they need help. And by the end of each episode, we see if SuperNanny has actually been able to help the family or if the child is just purely evil. And in the episode we're going to be breaking down today, I've never seen a child as violent as this one. So buckle up and let's get into it. So this episode starts off with us getting introduced to the Bradbury Lambert family.
We have 3 children, Matthew, who's 5, taking Olivia, who's 2, and we have little baby Diesel, who's 5 months old.
Diesel? Oh my god, that baby must be hard as f***. Imagine calling your baby Diesel. You're basically training him to be like a UFC fighter. Can you imagine you have a daughter and she brings home a boy called Diesel? Oh my god, he's now the daddy of the house. I don't care who the dad of the house is. In the words of Stuart, the dad, he says that Matthew is the child from hell. What a lovely thing to say about a child that you look after.
He's the child from hell.
Oh my god, bro. What? Somebody capture this child. Do you know when people ask that question? Do you know if like you were in the hospital where baby Hitler was there, would you before everything happened? Just saying. It is a butter knife though, we've got to take that into consideration. He wouldn't get as many years for that. I bet this boy would be the only person on the planet that could actually spread Lurpak spreadable.
He will kick,
Settle down.
he will punch, he will scream.
Okay, yeah. Eradicate. Target, activated, eradicate. I'm joking, obviously it's a child. But as you can see, he's very, violent. And later in this episode, we're going to see why this possibly is. But can you imagine how hard this would be for the parents? Like, looking after 3 children is hard enough, but when one of them is constantly attacking you, this is going to drain your energy level so much, and you're probably not going to give as much attention to the other 2 kids because this child is just taking up all of your time. It's literally like having to look after a little Conor McGregor. Can you imagine how disturbing that would be?
When he starts hitting, kicking and punching me, I do just take what he does. I just can't.
Sorry. We're not emotionally involved in this situation, so we're speaking very much from just a logical standpoint here. But this scene here, he nearly smacks the baby straight in the face. Surely at that point you've got to put your foot down and be like, you know what, I'm not really a fan of the whole punching and threateners thing. I feel like this possibly needs to stop now. Is that a doll? I really hope that's a doll baby. Because this baby in the pram is really struggling right now, doing some sort of starfish motion. I don't know which baby is more in peril right now. Look at this baby staring at him like, surely you've got to say something now, ma'am, surely. We then learn that Stuart is not allowed to discipline Matthew because he's not actually Matthew's biological dad, he's just his stepdad.
It makes me very sad, it makes me very angry because I'm not allowed to discipline Matthew at all.
Now this must be like a real kind of bottleneck between the both of them. I do get it from Laura's point of view, like, she doesn't want anyone else kind of, discipline her own blood child. I totally get that, but it just creates some friction between the 2 of you because you're not actually acting like a team. You're acting as like individuals. It's almost like, yeah, I'll look after my kids and you look after yours. How are you meant to kind of function and become like a successful parent, like going this way? I think I've got a good perspective on this because I've also got a stepdad. And I think if my mum said that my stepdad wasn't allowed to tell us off, I think like as a child, I probably subconsciously would take advantage of that and try and, kind of hit the limit with it. There's many times in this episode you're going to see that Laura kind of says that a child can do no wrong. She kind of enables his behaviour because she says that she worships the ground he walks on.
I worship the ground he walks on. He's my baby.
Which is a really nice thing, like as a mother, that you love your child so much. But when you can't see that they're doing no wrong and you don't discipline them, that's when obviously it becomes a problem because they just take the piss. I also think it's possibly got something to do with Matthew being her firstborn child. I remember reading this study like a few months ago, and it states that some mothers subconsciously treat their firstborns different to what they treat their second or third. It's quite like a meme that apparently the second born child often gets left out of stuff. Obviously that's not with every every family, but I'm just saying within this study it kind of says that. And it says that firstborn or lastborn children often get away with a lot more than kind of middle children, and this is kind of what we're seeing early doors within this family. And obviously Stuart is going to be feeling really stressed about this because he can't, like, he doesn't really have control in his own home. He's even said that he's worried that his daughter Tegan is going to turn out worse than Matthew because she's seeing this behaviour being enabled.
I'm worried that Matthew's sister is copying his behaviour.
Matthew uses that word, and that's naughty.
SuperNanny, we...
I love that they are genuinely treating Matthew as if he's the spawn of Satan. This literally seems like the plot of Skins, where they have Tony, who's kind of evil in the first generation, and then Effie comes, who's like 10 times worse. Maybe this is what the Skins producers kind of based their entire series on. SuperNanny then arrives at the house, and Matthew is acting completely normal.
Hiya! Can you say hello, Matthew? No. Hi, Matthew.
You gonna say hello, Matthew? No, I'll just be over here, like in the door handle. Thank you very much. I've got nothing to say to you. Also, I've got to credit SuperNanny because every single episode she wears the same outfit. It's genuinely like her Avengers costume. I don't think she's ever washed this. She just washes it with children's tears. SuperNanny, as she always does, starts with just kind of sitting back and observing the family kind of just living their life.
Matthew, I'm going to count to 3 and you're going to be up in your room on time out. 2.
Bro's hitting her with the Wingardium Leviosa. Not Leviosa. Idiot. Why, he's always pointing something at someone. Like, he's always, like, threatening someone. This guy would be mint in a prison. Hopefully he doesn't end up there. Right, that would be traumatizing. It's like a next level evil to threaten your mom while she's feeding your baby brother. That's like, you know, that's kind of taking the biscuit there, son. We then see Laura put Matthew in timeout, and of course, he doesn't react well.
Matthew got really angry and he started to trash his bedroom in protest.
Yeah, I think they're not going to be able to help this bloke by the end of the episode. I say bloke, he's literally like 6. But he's scarier than a lot of blokes.
And out of the blue, Matthew just punched Mum in the lip.
Yeah. Just punch her in the face.
Bro, she's got like a fat lip. She's like bleeding. Oh my good God. Was Matthew's biological dad a ninja? How did he just slip that punch in? He had no room for... This is ridiculous. As we've seen in the previous SuperNanny episodes we've done, like... it seems like the parents get into a rhythm of just doing the same thing and then they get the same results, which is kind of like the definition of insanity. Obviously, again, it's easy for us to say because we're not emotionally involved, but if you're putting him in timeout 5 times a day and then, like, this is the reaction every time, surely you have to switch it up a little bit because this method just isn't working. SuperNanny then follows Laura and Stuart to work and they actually work together teaching kickboxing classes. And this is where we get like a realisation moment into why Matthew might kick and slap his mum.
He tends to watch what we're doing and emulate it.
Well, obviously that's the reason why he thinks he can just chin you. As a child, like, obviously he is still working out the difference between right and wrong. If he's seeing his mum and dad kind of do these moves on each other, surely he's going to think it's acceptable for him to do it unless it's made clear that, you know, there's boundaries here. When I initially saw him, I just thought, oh, okay, maybe he is evil. But he's not. He literally thinks he's Conor McGregor. Like, I've been trained in combat sports from the age of around Matthew is right now for 7 years while I was in school. And in every single session nearly, it's made clear that the stuff that you're learning you don't take outside of the gym unless it's in like self-defense purposes, whereas it seems like they've just not made that clear with Matthew and he thinks he can just bring it home with him. Laura then returns home and it's her job to put all of the kids to bed. Now she does get her daughter to go to sleep, however Matthew is still up by the time Stuart gets home after work and they both just can't handle him.
Hey, you want to kick someone, you kick me, okay? If you want to get out of your system, you kick me for a bit.
Wait, did he just say if you want to kick somebody, kick me? But then you're saying, alright, it's alright to kick someone, you're just not allowed to kick your mum. You're allowed to kick lumps out of me, but just not your mum. I get that's something you probably said in the heat of the moment, but stuff like that sticks with kids. Like, they subconsciously just take that in. The reason Stuart probably says this is because he's not allowed to discipline Matthew. He's kind of like going halfway. Like, if he could, he would probably say you need to stop kicking, but he's like, actually, right, it's fine. Right, just kick us there. Okay, I'm not allowed to discipline you, but I don't mind if you just fucking kick us there, son.
Is that it? Is that what you got?
I couldn't believe...
Did you see the way he tried to discipline him there? Like, look at this little slap on his bottom.
I couldn't believe that...
What is that? I don't think that you should, hit your child. Is that what you're trying to do here? It looks like you're just trying to shove a fart back up his bottom. What is that? You can tell that he just feels really nervous around Matthew, and obviously this is just gonna not help the family at all. I feel like unless SuperNanny can kind of unravel Laura's mind into trusting Stuart to also like take some of the burden of disciplining Matthew, I don't think Matthew's behaviour is going to change at all, because he knows he can get away with it. He knows that no matter what he does, his mum's just going to end up like hugging him after, so he doesn't get punished for it. And I really do feel sorry for Laura in a way, because like it's just because she loves him, and she probably feels bad if she tells him off. I know she's a parent and she needs to, but I'm just speaking like from her own emotional standpoint. All she does is constantly just say the same thing.
As far as I'm concerned, he's my little baby, and I'm the one that will discipline him how I want to.
Oh my God. She's the kind of mum, right? Like, Matthew could go on to murder like 20 women and she'd be like, oh, but he's just my little baby though, isn't he? God bless him. Oh, look at his little beard. Oh, he's lush, isn't he? God. I remember when he was just like that, I do. And then now he's killing all these people. Oh, bless him. They grow up so fast, don't they? Again, I do get it from her point of view, because she is his blood mother. Like, she feels like it's her duty to be the one disciplining him. However, when you're not letting Stuart discipline Matthew, and it's also kind of having a huge negative impact on his life, then it's not fair. You two have had like children together. Like, I imagine you trust each other a lot. Like, she needs to kind of learn to trust Stuart with Matthew as well, because at the minute they're kind of just working like two individual parents, not as a team. And if you've got 3 kids, you definitely need to work as a team, because that shit is solid. It's like having a full-time job times 10. Also, speaking from experience, I think Matthew, when he gets older, will actually really appreciate it, because it'll make him have a better relationship with Stuart. If he's always been kept a distance from him, he's never really going to build that connection with him. And also, I don't think when he gets older, he'll appreciate that he was kind of treated differently. Like, I know from experience, you want to feel still like you're a part of like the nuclear family, even if you're not, blood related in a way. And from Stuart's point of view, he's kind of helpless, because like he genuinely, like, this is having such a negative impact on his entire family structure, and he can't do anything about it because he doesn't want to overstep.
It really does frustrate me when he kicks his mum, because obviously downstairs she looked pretty winded, and what I really want to do is chuck him over my shoulder, take him to bed. Laura, sit down, let me deal with this.
And I actually really respect Stuart for this, because I know a lot of people just wouldn't have this and would just kind of overstep. Like, he is really respecting the boundaries of Laura, but I think it's time for someone like SuperNanny to come in and be like a mediator and try and work this out between them, because they're both clearly just pulling away. SuperNanny then sits Laura and Stuart down together and discusses Matthew's behaviour. And SuperNanny kind of exposes to Laura that this cycle that she's in is never going to end unless she changes her behavioural pattern.
Why don't you allow Stuart to discipline?
Because I don't like him doing it.
But you don't discipline Matthew?
No, because I don't like doing it.
So then this is just never going to end. So no one's allowed to discipline him but you. But then you don't discipline him because you love him too much, or you're too protective over him. So then how do you expect his behaviour to change at all? Again, I know this is such a tough situation because we're looking at it from the outside. But unless she changes this, he's just going to get worse and worse, because he knows that he can take advantage of his mum's love.
She's my little baby.
And who's your baby?
Take Olivia.
Do you know how sad that is for me?
Not only is that sad for like SuperNanny to hear, that will be like horrendous for Matthew to hear when he's older and he watches this back, like hearing his stepdad say that he doesn't like treat him like he's his baby. Like, I know technically he's not, but that isn't a nice thing to hear, and it just makes you feel singled out. And it just proves how these two aren't acting like an actual family. They're like two individuals who just live together, and then they're looking after their own kids. They're like split in half. I really do hope that SuperNanny helps them put their family back together by the end of this episode, but it's not looking good so far. By the way, guys, I just want to quickly stop this video to say, make sure that you press the subscribe button if you're enjoying it. You'll have plenty of videos to binge watch when you're bored, exactly like this, and you'll be a part of the best community on the internet, the donuts, this little corner of the internet we have. So to start trying to put this family back together, SuperNanny implements some house rules.
Household rules. No kicking, no punching.
The fact she's even got to put that on a piece of paper is just mental.
The hardest part is going to be the kicking and punching with Matthew. He can see the household rules and see how good they are. But once he loses his temper, I think he's going to have a real difficulty with them.
Christ. The way they paint this child out to be evil is just ridiculous. Yeah, when he sees red, then, you know, we're all in for it, unfortunately. There's a lot more bus slips in this house after 7 p.m, I'm gonna tell you that. SuperNanny also sets up this, like, punishment chair that Matthew has to sit in if he acts out.
And if you decide to carry on and behave naughty, Mummy and Daddy are going to send you to your chill-out chair.
Do you know if you're a naughty child, SuperNanny must be like the bane of your life. It's like kryptonite to Superman. You're like, oh, why is she here with that chill-out chair? Don't want to sit in the fucking chill-out chair. I also like that SuperNanny is calling his parents Mammy and Daddy. Like, she's not saying, oh, Mammy and Stuart. She's like reaffirming, like, yeah, this is your dad. Like, you should respect him. And he's allowed to act like your dad. And that also to Stuart, hopefully, if he does pick up on that and kind of starts to feel more like Matthew's dad, because it doesn't seem like Matthew's dad is in the picture. SuperNanny also introduces this chart that he has to kind of work on when he's sitting in the chill out chair. And it's amazing to see after SuperNanny implements these like chill out techniques, Matthew's behaviour just like completely changes. Not.
Remember, he's not stronger than you. Just put him on the chair and say nothing. Mum was really struggling.
I feel so sorry for the mum and the dad. I know obviously it's like you know, they're partly to blame why this is happening, but could you be arsed? You know, after you've had like your full-time job, you come home and your son's just trashing the gaff. Like, oh, I'd just be like, mate, can you just not? Like, oh, where? That would be my SuperNanny technique, just walk in and go, oh, away, man. That works every time, guys. Try it, right? If your child's acting out, just say that, see what they do. Bet they calm down. I take me payment through PayPal, thank you very much. Like, there's one point where he just opens the front door and just runs away.
It was new territory for him.
Surely as the cameraman, do you not, like, go and run after the child that is on the road? Like, that cameraman was just like, help, he's gonna get run over. This isn't a TV show anymore. That's an actual child in danger. Now, I never ever want to like self-diagnose something when I see it on a YouTube video. One, because I'm not a professional, and two, because I wouldn't really feel right doing it. But with a lot of the kids, and some of the kids we've reacted to in SuperNanny episodes, I think they're dealing with a little bit more than just being a bad behaved child. You see, Laura says that he like really gets really wound up when he's not used to something, like a change in pattern, etc., which is traits of something. And one thing that I wish SuperNanny really did was like, if a child just is constantly not responding to behavioural techniques, to like test them for things, you know, nothing deep, but just kind of run a few tests, etc. And I think it would really help the parents to just, if they are like struggling with something, the parents can acknowledge that and find methods that in the long term can like really help them, especially with how expensive like testing for stuff can be, or like the wait times with the NHS. I really think this would have been a really good thing that they could have introduced to the show. But then it takes away from like SuperNanny and her techniques and kind of like this portrayal that she's this like superwoman who can help any child. Going back to the show, it takes Laura an hour and a half to calm Matthew down after his tantrum, and bearing in mind she says he has like 4 or 5 of these a day, this must just be exhausting for her. But one thing I will give Laura credit for is you can tell that she really cares about Matthew. Like in the last SuperNanny video we did, the mother in that one, it looked like she almost didn't really care, like she'd kind of given up. Laura definitely hasn't given up with Matthew. She's really trying. I think she's just too nice of a person to kind of be strong with him. Now, to try and build a bridge between Stuart and Matthew and Laura and the other children, which is just a mad statement to say, SuperNanny introduces this challenge where basically Stuart has to spend time with Matthew and Laura spends time with the other children at the park. But the way that both the parents talk about it, in my opinion, is just a little bit weird.
It felt great to see Matthew and Stuart together. It's something I've always wanted, but I suppose it's something I've always stopped from happening.
Like that, why would you stop that from happening? Fair play, the discipline thing, you know, that's your child, but why would you stop them getting a connection? That almost says to me that it's almost like you want Matthew to want you, if that makes sense. Like she almost like thrives off the fact that Matthew needs her. It makes her feel kind of, you know, like that love back a little bit. Obviously, that's just an assumption from me, but that's what it seems like, because what other kind of explanation would she have for not wanting to have a connection with Stuart also? It's almost like she doesn't want to share his love.
I saw Laura play with Tinglu. It was kind of heartbreaking because it's my little girl and I felt I was losing her to Laura, but...
Sorry? Who? Which dad goes, oh yeah, it was actually really heartbreaking to see me daughter play with the mother because I felt like I was losing her. Who says that? That is wild. It's almost like this park trip is like kind of exposed that they're both kind of just selfish and they thrive off their own children loving them and not the other person. So strange. It's like if you did try and promote everybody loving each other equal, you'd still get the same amount of love. Just from more children. The family then return from the park and it is now Tegan who's acting up and Stuart tries to like attempt to calm her down.
And I'd like you to take you a dinner.
I think I am probably soft on Tegan, Livia.
Tegan, I'd like you to sit back at the table, please.
It's so wild that whenever it's Tegan, it's Stuart who has to like deal with it, and whenever it's Matthew, it's Laura. Like they never help each other out. For me, like if you're gonna kind of be together and you've and one person's already got kids, or you both have got kids from previous relationships, you have to kind of like adopt the kids that aren't yours and love them. Like I know it's hard to love them equally, but give them, or at least show them that you're trying to love them equally, especially when they're young, because they're still developing and they're gonna pick up that you don't really kind of want to build a connection with them, because kids are like smarter than you think. This is so sad. It's at this point that SuperNanny actually leaves. Like this is one of the wildest SuperNanny episodes, because usually like she leaves them in a positive state, whereas this time she kind of hasn't. However, SuperNanny does monitor the family like while she's gone, and she says that Stuart and Matthew have built a better connection, and now Stuart actually picks Matthew up from school, which I mean, is that really like, isn't that the bare minimum? Like what? What are we doing here? Well, Stuart's actually started talking to Matthew, so I'll call that one a success. It's like, yeah, that's what he should be doing, love. He's the child's parent now, for Christ's sake.
Are you going to run down the hill? Yeah. On that race, yeah.
Can you imagine, like, turning up the school with, like, a camera crew, like, picking up, like, your son? That must be such a weird experience. You just know that all of the parents from, like, your year are going to be probably, like, bitching about, yeah, you seen them? They're on SuperNanny, can't look after the kids, they can't. Have you heard? He doesn't even like Matthew, he doesn't even like him. The WhatsApp group is going to have gossip for a month. Also, Laura is kind of getting a better connection with the other two children, which is... I guess it's nice to see. However, because she's like sharing her attention, Matthew is acting out like worse than ever, because obviously he's not got the full attention of his mum like he's used to.
You do not behave like this, please.
You do not hold my arms.
You either work it
Laura, don't forget you're stronger than him.
Oh my good lord. Put him in the chill-out chair, Laura. That's what works every time, the chill-out chair. Get him to look at the chart, Laura. I know he's punching you, and I know he's made you bleed, but put him in the chill-out chair. That'll sort him out.
You need to chill out.
You do chill out.
Put him on the chill-out chair, Laura. Get control of this situation.
I know, obviously, like, this technique clearly works for SuperNanny, but it is a lot easier to just say, put him in the chair when you're not there and he's not attacking you. Like, when this child is literally trying to take lumps out of her, it's hard to just kind of, just put him in a chair. Especially when she's got, like, a camera crew. She'll be stressed because she knows that millions of people are watching it. She's mic'd up. She's not used to this. She's got other things to do. Like, there's so much going on in her head. She probably just is forgot about the bloody chair. On top of this, Tegan is acting worse than ever as well.
Who's in charge now?
To be fair though, in a previous SuperNanny episode we watched, this was a technique that she'd given to the mother, was to just, every single time that they act out, just keep putting them back in the same place. Yeah, he talked to her for a little bit at the start, but he's kind of just explaining why she's sitting there so she understands. At least he's trying. And it's just a shame that he's not allowed to also do this with Matthew, because obviously Matthew, being the oldest, all of the other children are going to like see him as like an example of how they should act. This just happens every single time SuperNanny leaves for the first time, because she gives them like a technique. It works while she's there, and then the next day the parents just don't keep up with it. They just kind of give up straight away after the child doesn't respond to it well the first time. And I feel like it's also harder for the parents to implement it, because like as a child, if like a random woman is like putting you in the same spot, you are just going to be a little bit more like taken back. But when it's your own family and it's just using the house, you're going to be a little bit more relaxed and probably not listen as much. However, Laura just isn't like following anything SuperNanny said. Like Matthew was having a tantrum before bed and she just locks him in the room and doesn't do anything about it.
Laura, follow the steps. You're supposed to put him back into bed.
Do you know, sometimes you just have to kind of like, sit alone and realise that you kind of need to just give your child an exorcism. Just get them demons out of them. Just start Start again. However, a big step that Laura then does is she kind of passes Matthew over to Stuart and says, can you help us with it? Which is like the first time she's ever done this since they've started filming. Kind of just acting like a team, like alleviating some of the pressure.
Stuart, you've just disregarded the technique. That's not going to help, is it?
Now, although he has disregarded the technique, this is the first time that he's been allowed to do it. So I'm kind of like, I think it's fair game for him just to kind of just see how it goes. He's probably trying to connect with them emotionally, like talking just him and Matthew on the bed. So I don't necessarily think this is too bad of a thing the first time. But it just seems like the kids have made no progress since SuperNanny's been. Like, not even the parents have really, apart from Laura, like sharing some of the load of Matthew that like she should have been doing the entire time. SuperNanny then returns, and I believe that she's finally got to the root of the issue that this family have. It's that the parents are just too nice, and they almost feel bad disciplining the kids because they feel like the kids aren't gonna love them. We seen when they were at the park that the thrive of the kids like needing them, and anything they do where they feel like they might be pushing that back a little bit, they get really anxious and they're like, oh my god, my kids won't love us anymore. Whereas realistically, they're still gonna love you if you tell them off. If anything, they're gonna like kind of want you more because they're gonna feel like, oh, my mom's not giving us as much love as usual, and then they're gonna pull towards you.
I need to get a lot tougher for this to work and for Matthew's behaviour to be how I want it to be so that we can have an enjoyable family life.
Obviously, I'm not a parent, but I can't imagine how hard that is because, you know, especially like being the mother, like you've like grew this baby inside of you and you've like literally created a life. It must be so hard to sometimes to kind of like be harsh to that thing that you've produced, that child. But unfortunately, the child's just going to be evil if you don't. And for the first real time in the show, we see Stuart kind of emotionally detach himself from a situation and attempt to discipline.
You do not pinch and do not shout at me.
Give her the choice. If you do that, then you're going to end up on the naughty step.
If you were a child, you'd just absolutely despise SuperNanny, wouldn't you? You'd be like, why is she here? Who she thinks she is? Coming in here, telling us to play with me Lego, the bastard. I'll shove this up your bloody arse if you're not careful, love. Sorry. I wouldn't even know how to start doing that. You know, if SuperNanny came to my house, I feel like I'd really wind up me parents. Like, you know, if SuperNanny was telling, like, me mum what to do, I'd be like, mum, are you going to take that? Are you? Random woman comes in your house and tells you how to live. You really going to take that, are you? And you call yourself a strong, independent woman, do you? Well, that's up for debate, isn't it? I would just try and wind them up, because that would be absolutely hilarious. Now, Laura is still consistently struggling with Matthew. However, she does have one good point where Matthew actually stays on the chill-out chair. The fucking chill-out chair.
I think he's realised that she's not prepared to tolerate his aggression anymore, and she's learnt how to approach it differently.
Now that is really good because that's the first time we've seen Matthew listen for the entirety of this episode. Normally with a SuperNanny episode, there's like little bits where they listen and then they pull away. None of that in this one. This is literally the first time. And after this, SuperNanny just leaves. She's like, okay, right, my job is done here. So this says to me that this must have been one of the hardest children for her to ever deal with, because the one side of success, she's gone. So she can leave the episode on a high. She's like, right, I can't do this anymore. We then get an update like a couple of weeks after the filming of this show took place, and the entire family seems really happy, and they say that Matthew's behaviour is drastically like improved. Also with Tegan, she's not acting out anymore because obviously her big brother's not acting out anymore, so then she is like got no one to kind of like see negative behaviour from. And they actually do a tiny interview with Matthew, and it actually makes us emotional.
I like having fun with Mummy and Daddy now.
Oh my god. Bro. I think it's just because, like, I know, like, how that could, I know how that could feel. That's so nice because he's, like, obviously calling, like, it Mummy and Daddy. And he feels like he's got a daddy now, and like that is that's really nice for him. And this is one episode, like I've criticised SuperNanny movies in the past, whereas I feel like this is an episode where she actually has really changed their lives. Like, although there wasn't as many positives in this episode because he was a really bad behaved child, the fact that he now feels loved by both kind of parties in his upbringing is just so good. It makes us actually feel happy, even though I don't know these people at all. One thing though is they're like with the horses here having a family day out and there's no sign of the baby. I need the baby's opinion on this to really kind of put the final nail in the coffin. What does the baby think? The only neutral party here. Now, I did try and find like a current update of how the family are getting on now, but I couldn't really find anything at all. And because, you know, they're a family who are off camera, I didn't want to probe too much, but I did see this one article from 2005, which said Stuart Lambert and Laura Bradbury have been thrown out of their house after they were accused of leaving behind £5,000 of damage. Apparently the house that they were living in was like completely trashed by the time they'd leave, and like they refused to pay rent, etc. I don't know if that was down to like the behaviour of the kids or what happened, or if they actually split up. I have no idea how they're getting on today, but apparently when the landlord went into this house to like kind of review the state of it, they still had all the cameras up, etc. So I don't know if they like if that was the SuperNanny cameras, but I couldn't imagine the production team would leave the cameras. It's kind of strange. I was like, why is there cameras in the house? And apparently there was drawing on the walls, etc. So I don't, like, we didn't see any of that in the TV show, so I don't know if Matthew's behaviour kind of went downhill after the TV show, or if they just kind of love to do art on the walls. I have no idea. But if you would like to see me react to another SuperNanny episode, click this one here. I've done a couple, and if you want me to make this a series and do another episode, 4,000 likes on this video and we'll do that. It kind of just gives me a gauge if you are enjoying these videos. And if you have any suggestions of what other SuperNanny episodes or what other kind of TV shows in general, let us know. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Donuts. Bye bye.